We are also recording this meetup today. And firstly, I would like to welcome you all and thank you for participating here in today's meetup 36, themed Redefining Aid Distribution with Blockchain Technology, Project Insights. And I guess the screen, can you also share the screen, please, so that everyone can view the slide?
Sure, Amina. Give me a second.
Sure. Okay, so like I said, welcome to everyone. So today's meetup 36 is themed Redefining Aid Distribution with Blockchain Technology, Project Insight. And this meetup 36 is organized by eSatya and initiated by Rimson Associates and Blockchain Foundation Nepal. And with some great partners and supporters like Ecosystem Support Program and Ethereum Foundation Initiative, Digital Notice, the SIT Association of Nepal, and Prime IT Club. So if you have been following eSatya, you've already known about it, but those who are new here with us today, eSatya is a blockchain-based company in Nepal that specializes in developing blockchain-based products as well as consulting about blockchain technology through various blockchain sessions, technical series, and meetups like this one. And we also organize blockchain fellowship program where interested individuals who wants to pursue their career in blockchain can learn and get started about the fundamentals of blockchain through our industry experts. Meanwhile, Blockchain Foundation Nepal is not-for-profit community that aims to create a blockchain ecosystem by supporting blockchain enthusiasts and blockchain innovations in Nepal. Likewise, Ecosystem Support Program is a branch of Ethereum Foundation focused on supporting the projects and entities within greater Ethereum community in order to promote the success and growth of the ecosystem. Similarly, the Digital Notice Media Lab is a premier media agency offering top-notch media services for blockchain technology-related platforms in India. And likewise, CSIT Association in Nepal is a non-profitable social organizations of CSIT and students that acts as a bridge between the faculty members, the students, and the IT industries in Nepal. Lastly, Prime IT Club is a student club dedicated in empowering the IT knowledge. So now moving on to our meetup that is redefining aid distribution with blockchain technology. We are all joining today's meetup as Rahat and Taiba shares their groundbreaking work in transforming humanitarian aid through blockchain technology. So talking about Rahat, meaning relief in Nepali, it is an open source blockchain-based token cash and voucher assistance platform. And the main aim is to make humanitarian aid distribution efficient and transparent to support the marginalized communities. Rahat strengthens financial inclusion for vulnerable community members and help them receive aid through vendors and their communities. So whereas Tayaba was founded in 2016 by brothers Bilal bin Saqib and Momin Saqib, based on the teaching of their mother named Tayaba. And this organization is focused on the grave situation of water scarcity and associated problems of non-existent or poor infrastructures of water for water. So Tayaba has successfully distributed thousands of S2O wheels across Pakistan while expanding the projects to other areas, local and international, whereas the demand and needs are observed and reported. So today our both speakers will discuss about the pilot project, which was focused on improving the efficiency, accountability, and transparency in distributing the S2O wheels in Pakistan. with a special emphasis on supporting female-headed households and prioritizing the dignity of beneficiaries. Their innovative approach aims to build and trust, maximizing the impact of e-distribution. So we can witness here today the power of technology in creating positive changes. So in today's agenda, as you can see, we'll be having a rapid fire session where you'll get to know our panelists, and then we'll be sharing they will be sharing their experiences and learnings from their project. And at last, we'll be doing a Q&A. If you have any questions, you can ask it at the end of the event. So as I said, our distinguished speakers from Rahat and Tayaba will share their experiences and perspectives on this project today. So we are also going live to our eSatya Facebook page, which will be shared by our supportive partners. And you can also share it with your friends so that they can be a part of our meetup too. So we shall be collecting questions from the Facebook comments as well. Now, without any further ado, I would like to introduce you all to our speakers, Srishti Pia from Rahat and Zoha Wakus from Tayaba. So talking about Srishti Pia, he's the Chief Development Officer at Rumson, who has a strong background in spearheading impact-driven blockchain projects, with the proven tracks records in efficiently monitoring and successfully leading projects such as Rahat, and there was recent blockchain-based distributions of SU wheels. Srishti has become a key driving force behind Rumson's development and work. Also talking about Zoha, she is a communication and blockchain research associate at Tayaba Welfare International Association. So you can also view it in our slides. So she has spearheaded Pakistan's pioneering digital currency and NFTs powered fundraising initiative, that is SavePakistan.crypto. Her current her current focus revolves around integrating blockchain technology into TWRA's aid monitoring and distribution system, with the primary objectives of enhancing transparency and efficiency in their funding efforts. So moving on, now I would like to hand over the floor to Srishti Pia, who will be taking over from here. So Srishti ji.
Thank you, Amina, for that wonderful introduction of Rahat, Tayaba, and ourselves. So without further ado, I'll be moving on to the rapid fire session, as Amina mentioned earlier. So I'll be posing my questions towards Zoha. So because this is a rapid fire session, we'll be taking about 5 to 8 minutes in total. I have 8 questions in total, Zoha. So maybe you can take a few seconds to answer these questions. Some of them are like maybe a one word or a few sentence question, but then some of them you can maybe be elaborative too. But then let's keep it maybe towards 5 or 8 minutes. So are you ready, Zoha?
Yes, that sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay, so the first question is, what's one thing that encourages you to be in tech space?
Revolution, transformation.
Great. So if you had to describe the potential of blockchain technology in 3 words, what would they be?
There would be change, impact, and there would be tech revolution, something that's going to take over the world.
So I think the first thing that comes to our mind when we talk about blockchain is trust for me.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what is the biggest misconception about blockchain technology and that you would like to debunk today?
I think firstly, the idea that blockchain brings complete decentralization, it takes a lot of courage for people to digest that. So I want to, like, on this platform, firstly would debunk that, yes, it is transparent. So when people say that there may be hidden centralized authorities that are looking after blockchain, so that's not there.
Yes, exactly. So the first question is, what's one common challenge in, because you are from Pakistan and I'm from Nepal, I wanted to have this question. So what's one challenge in, one common challenge in Nepal and Pakistan that you think blockchain could solve?
I think transparency, and especially in our fields, because we're doing a shared vision that we're here for. So in that, in social impact, transparency, trust, accountability, that is what is lacking with our initiatives, traditional fundraising and traditional social impact initiatives that is currently there. So transparency, it's going to enhance the transparency of processes.
Yeah, exactly, because both of our countries have like similar kind of challenges when we talk about like these opaqueness and different bureaucracies. So I think that would be the topmost thing that I would also like to uh, take it as a common challenge between us. So the next one is, share one practical application of blockchain technology that excites you the most.
I think integration of blockchain in the entire system. So currently what we did was aid distribution. Why not start it from production till distribution, from impact assessment? So entirely blockchain integrated system.
Yeah, exactly. Because whenever we talk about blockchain, it's mostly about like financial. It's basically like it's mostly based on financial sector, and like the other sectors are usually like left out. So I think, yeah, that's a very good answer, Zoha. So the next question is, what was the most memorable moment you experienced during the H2 will distribution project using Rahat?
I think the response that we received, the how people praised it for its ease, its convenience, because what we do, we when we have an understanding, we're just jotting it down at words. Seeing that actually happening on ground and people quoting it as it being simple, it being easy, it being quick, it bringing them dignity and respect, I think that is very heartwarming. That's very heartfelt. So that is one of the most precious memories to me.
I think for us, this was the first time that we are taking Rahat outside of Nepal, and it was a very good experience for us too, because we were testing out if we could actually look into like the scalability of Rahat and if Rahat could be a global platform. So it was a very good learning for us. So I think we're towards the end, not the end. I think I had two more questions. So the next question is, because you've been involved in IT and you are working as a blockchain researcher at Tayaba, give a few words of motivation for all the women in IT.
For all the women in IT, they're wonderful, firstly. I think the perspectives that women can bring into blockchain and tech, that's immense. And that is very much reflective in our female-headed. So our department's also female-headed and Rumson here. So we can see that we are here to bring change. We need to take pride in ourselves and our initiatives. And with tech, we need to lead the world. We need to be the women for change. So that has to be the entire. So I think even if we look at the most innovative projects out there that are being led by women in blockchain, so that has to be one of the most inspirational frameworks to look up to lead and to actually bring about change. So to all the wonderful perspectives that we hold within ourselves, we need to bring it out into blockchain and decentralize our ideas as well for impact now.
Yeah, definitely women for decentralization and change.
Yeah.
So I think this would be my last question for the rapid fire session. What advice would you give to someone interested in starting a career in blockchain industry? Because there has been a lot of people that are interested in this technology, and we also run a fellowship program where we get a lot of uh, uh, inquiries, and we have like inquiries, and there are a lot of people that are interested in that particular session too. So what's one advice that you would give to someone who's interested in starting a career in this industry?
So my advice as a researcher firstly would be to understand the system completely. There's a lot of different information that's revolving out there, so you need to find it out, you need to understand it. And the idea that you are interested into blockchain shows that you're very much innovative and you want to bring change from within. So now you need to channelize your ideas as well. So when you're studying blockchain, think beyond. So if someone has done something in supply chain, think of what you can do more to it, because end to blockchain has not yet been discovered, and probably it's a very nascent space, it's growing. You need to harness your ideas and potential into something very much more concrete, into something very much more impactful. So two very crisp advices would be to first understand, and then when you're doing, look at it from innovation, look at it from change, and then also look at it from a social aspect.
Yeah, I think that piece of information would be great. Advice would be great for all of the students that are joining us here, who are looking forward to like having some career in this particular industry, and some other individuals who are already in some other sectors and then want to jump into blockchain industry. I think that's a wonderful piece of information there, that know more about this technology and then deep dive into it. So with that, we actually are wrapping up the rapid fire session. I hope you've enjoyed it, Zoha, and I hope all of the audiences enjoyed it too. So with this, we'll be starting our detailed discussion on the conversation about the pilot project that we had with Toyaba in Pakistan to distribute 100 H2 wheels to women-led households there in Sindh, Pakistan. So I have a series of questions again for Zoha, and in this session you can be as detailed as possible. So as far as I know, Tayaba, it has, and as Amina mentioned earlier in the introduction to that, it has been very much focused on eliminating the water scarcity in Pakistan, and has been running multiple projects to actually help the most vulnerable ones living with water scarcity. And most prominent response from Tayaba has been to distribute certain resources like the H2O wells and hygiene kits, etc. So could you please walk us through the general aid distribution process that you have within your organization, and the major pain points that you are trying to actually solve with the implementation of our blockchain-based platform, Rahat?
Right, sure. So when you talk about water scarcity, we have now grew to hygiene and sanitation as well. So that's a very core component of our products and services as well now. Coming to the aid distribution processes, so it even before the integration of blockchain, our processes were very much centered around the idea of transparency and accountability. And that is very much reflective from enhancing transparency through our manual documentations and traditional and conventional methods as well. So if we go through a step-by-step procedure, so let's imagine if Taiba were to do an initiative in Nepal, so how would the process look like if it were not blockchain integrated? So our first step, it's a 3-tier process. We would begin with a very comprehensive need assessment of the area that we're targeting. So this would include complete record keeping and documentation of the target area and its needs. Then we would look at our target beneficiaries as well, and the beneficiaries' data would be recorded as CNICs, and also their details would be kept into our sheets, into our data and documentation. So that would include a very strong and very comprehensive and extensive data compilation process. Then coming towards production, what's needed, what's to be done, where are we getting the donations from? Entirely, that's also manually recorded, that's also kept into documentations, and everything is recorded in phases and in sub-phases as well. So where are we getting the donations from? Where are those donations being executed? Where are they being distributed? What are the areas? So all these questions of what, whys, and hows, how are we doing it? These are all kept there. These are there in our processes, in our documentation process. Now, once we've distributed it, our process does not stop there. We then have monitoring and evaluation processes as well, which would include telephonic checks, which would include random spot checks, and also our 3-tier monitoring and evaluation process. That would then include Taiba's representative evaluating and monitoring the impact we've created, how the aid was distributed, did it reach its intended beneficiaries. Then secondly, it would include our implementation partners, different organizations that are implementing that project and initiative with us. And thirdly, for a very unbiased, for a very impartial point of view towards the evaluation and impact that we've created, we would also have third-party assessments. So that would include different consultancies, different research organizations, different companies to come over and to visually and to in real time see the impact that we've created through our initiative. So that's pretty much how we start with distribution to evaluation and then monitoring side by side, including a phase by phase documentation process. Now, when it comes to different pain points that we were dealing with, and then we thought of integrating blockchain and getting Rahat on board. So, as I mentioned, you might have noticed that throughout it was manual documentation. Throughout, it was a very humanistic, very labor intensive work that we've been doing with this. So, one of our, and when you're involved so much manually with the processes, it's prone to malfunction, it's prone to errors, it's prone to delays and logistical issues. And that is what we were facing too. And that is when we thought of why not automating it through blockchain. And another issue was intermediaries. So, for example, in our quest of actually getting transparency and accountability, what we did was we launched NFT H2O cards, and that was also focused towards getting transparency into our systems. But what we could not achieve there was also 100% transparency, because at the back end, it was us inputting the data for the donors on the website. So we did not successfully eliminate the intermediary there as well. So having an intermediary, the existence within the system of that, we needed to eliminate that through blockchain. We needed to get rid of the delays, the logistical issues that were there due to the system being heavily dependent on human force, on labor work, on manual work. And then it was very time consuming as well. So when you have to record, when you have to conduct like thousands of surveys, you have to record each and every beneficiary's information, whether they received aid, whether the aid was produced, where did you get donations from. So all those questions, when you're compiling them into documents, that's a lot of work, manual work. That includes a lot of time, that includes a lot of effort. So the effort and time that can be harnessed in creating social impact, a major chunk of it goes into that process as well. So when we think about getting Rahat on board, getting dashboards, we make it efficient, and then we harness that potential and hard work into something that's going to create a more amplified, meaningful social impact that we're focused towards. Because at the end of the day, our ideas, they all converge to creating as much biggest, as much maximized social impact as we can. And that is why we want our internal systems and processes to be as efficient as possible.
So Zoha, to I think summarize what you just mentioned about your current process of aid distribution, I think it was firstly the assessment, then collecting the data of the beneficiaries, then manually doing all of these documentation and finding the right donors for the for the response program, and then distributing, and finally monitoring and evaluating the overall processes. So as you mentioned, like when we say a distribution project or a program, superficially we feel that it's kind of like very easy, but then when we deep dive into like getting into assessments and collecting the data of the beneficiaries, it gets quite like labor intensive, and it's like very much time and like resource consuming. And that's why like creating efficiencies in our like aid distribution projects, it becomes very important, as you mentioned. And that's feel was the pain point of Toyaba. And because I was involved in the project, I also feel that there were multiple partners down the line of Toyaba who were involved in actually distributing the H2Os to the beneficiaries. And I feel that like bringing them all in like in one platform was also very important to create that efficiency and to create that accountability and transparency throughout the process. So I think there was a comment on if there's any presentation. So we won't be having any presentation today. So we're trying to making it very conversational. So we have a video, I think in the middle of the in the session, to give you a idea of how this project was actually run in Pakistan. So please keep hold, and please like if there are any questions, you can just have it in the chat box. So, so Zoha, like adding into the like connecting to the next question, as you mentioned that you had like your main pinpoints as like the manual things and having a very cost and then resource heavy operations to distribute the H2 wells. So, like, did Rahat actually help you minimize these pinpoints or these challenges, and how did the implementation of Rahat actually helped like improve your process?
Okay, so yes, it definitely did that. So when it comes to integrating Rahat, so our methods that previously took like minutes and hours in terms of just the final distribution of giving the aid to the beneficiary was reduced significantly to about seconds, which were praised by the beneficiaries there. So that was also very surprising for us, considering we were doing the tokenization philanthropy and this blockchain integration project for the first time in Pakistan. Now, if we come to like some certain details or certain aspects of how Rahat in different views and in different aspects supported our system. So firstly, it would include the efficiency in resource allocation, how it was very effective. So how, in terms of how I mentioned, we had to keep the data of the beneficiary segregated in different documents, documented manually with CNICs, with numbers, with different sort of details that we wanted. So with this, it was an immediate registration of the beneficiaries onto an automated system that did not require us to get into a very extensive process of cross-checking the beneficiary lists as well at the end. So cross-checking was also a very important aspect of our conventional and traditional systems, where we continuously check our beneficiary list of what's been done, what's been going on, how we're adding stuff. So I think that, when translated into a blockchain dashboard, did bring a lot of it did automate it. It brought a lot of efficiency there. Then when it comes to ease and convenience for the beneficiaries itself, so there are a lot of testimonials, there are a lot of reviews that we received from the beneficiaries that was easy, it was quick, it was very simple to do. We felt like we were going to the market just to purchase something. So as simple as that, giving, it's just like a to-go process, give it and get it, and then you can leave. So that efficiency, that quickness that was bought into our systems, how we could then use our energy and efficiency into other processes, that was something very important. And then with all our products and services, we're very much invested into the idea of sustainability. So one of our core values in terms of getting a blockchain dashboard on board was also to move towards a paperless system, towards a greener future. So having a paperless system, no documentations, and then no intermediaries as well, how we had to get. So this was like a pilot project. This was the first project. We had to get conventional partners on board. We had to get teams on board. But when you look at it on scaling this project, you can notice how we would not want these intermediaries as well, when the beneficiaries would get hands-on with the QR cards, with different methods that we use to distribute the aid. So looking at the future of efficiency that we can develop with Rahat and how it was effective in the very first initial phases as well, that was very motivating and encouraging for us as well. So we look at it scaling, and that is how we look at it more in terms of bringing transparency, bringing efficiency, and reducing the number of intermediaries that we have in the system.
Absolutely, Zoha. It's great to know how Rahat was able to help or support your organization to be more efficient, to create transparency throughout the aid distribution process. And to also mention, I think Zoha touched a bit on like collecting or validating the beneficiary data. So because Rahat is an open source platform, we generally opt for, we have our beneficiary data management tool, but then we also are open towards like integrating some open source tools for, like, for example, Kobo tools. So for this particular project, we used Kobo tools to actually collect these beneficiary data, and to actually once we had all this data in place, we are like easily validating this data, and then going into the field for the those who are going to the field were for those who are going to the field to collect this data was very easy using these type of simple basic tools, and so which created like a minimum friction while actually implementing this kind of platform to distribute the aids. So because my question is around working value of Rahat. So I'm trying to add a bit about how it works here, because for a few of our audiences, they won't be they won't know about how Rahat works. So we have like two different methods available for aid distribution. One is through QR codes, and the other one is by using OTPs. So this is to cater to the most vulnerable ones who might not have access to smartphones or even the basic feature phones or the internet. So those who have mobile phones can be like they can be kept in the OTP processes. They can utilize their mobile phones to receive the aid that has been assigned to them for by the donor agencies. Or if a person do not have a mobile phone or access to a basic feature phone, then they can be provided with a QR card, which will be a physical QR card, and also with a PIN code. So they can actually go to these distribution areas with the QR cards or the mobile phones if they have, and they can actually redeem their aid from the distribution area. So that's how we work. So we, for this particular pilot, we use both of these methods to distribute the H2O to the beneficiaries. I think there were among the 100 beneficiaries that were in this pilot project, 13 of them were kept for the OTP process, while the others were for the QR code process. So, Zoha, which method do you think was best suited for Tayaba's like distribution of the H2O whales in Pakistan? And like, could you also provide some context behind your preference?
So, as you just mentioned right now, a very small portion of our total target for this pilot had access to mobile phones, and that sort of builds my opinion on this as well, that QR cards were more effective. And that is how we found a very important insight during this pilot as well, of how patriarchy, and when we talk about gender inequality, was also very much permeated in the rural area that we were targeting. Because I remember, if you also remember, that women there did not have access to mobile phones, and then the households that did even have access to, they mentioned how it wasn't available to them because their men were out for work and they had the mobile phone, so they had to wait for like till the evening or till the night or even for days for the men to come back and then have access to phone. So our target audience was women and female-headed households. So for that, QR code was also very effective in this aspect, that they did not have to firstly wait for access to mobile phones. And secondly, as mentioned in the response that we also got, that they felt like using the QR code was actually a tool to go to the market and purchase something for them, bringing dignity to them as well. And a lot of times, if I link back to the very first question when we were talking about traditional systems, in our traditional systems, it was also that we had to take like pictures of the beneficiaries at times for the record keeping with their consent. We had to get their CNICs. So it was sometimes pushing them with their consent outside their comfort zone as well, which used to bring them a bit uncomfort to themselves. So with the QR codes, it was so comfort to them that we did not even have to do this to get pictures in terms of monitoring or in terms of record keeping. We did not have to get their CNICs. It was just that one card that brought them empowerment, that brought them dignity, and then they had to receive the aid themselves, feeling empowered that this is something they've gone there to get it for themselves and not something they're receiving from someone. So that idea of actually making the process very powerful for them, that was very it was very, I think, soothing for us as well, of how they perceived it to be very differently, and the insight that we got of how very minor aspects of gender inequality can lead to such issues of us logistically putting and actually implementing our procedure. So how this was an insight. So I think with my option of getting QR codes would be because of this, of how social benefits, of how something that's giving them relief and empowerment from within. So QR codes were very much effective in that.
Yeah, exactly, Zoha. Like all of us know that technology is very, very crucial to make our processes efficient, but then social and economic factors does matter a lot, and especially when we are actually working in a very vulnerable area and targeting a very vulnerable population there. So, and that's why, because blockchain is our core expertise and we are the tech enablers, but then we also are like focusing on building a separate tool for data validation and targeting, because we feel that though it's not it's like not at all related with blockchain, it's a very, very important piece, and that's why we like we are there to provide a holistic service, and that's why we feel that social, and that's why we are actually developing or have developed the data validation and targeting tool as well, to keep the social and economic perspective, as you mentioned, Zuha, about the in the previous question. So and while I'm mentioning about using different technologies to address our existing problems, There are always, it's very much difficult when we are like trying to build, like bring about some changes in the existing processes, be it a very basic thing, changing a very personal, a basic personal habit, or like changing a complex process. I think bringing about change is always difficult, and there must have been some like a lot of challenges there while using Rahat to distribute the S2O wheels, because this was the first time that you had actually used a blockchain-based platform as such. So can you mention some of the challenges that you faced during the pilot, and how were they addressed?
Yes, so as you just mentioned, that resistance to change, I think that was one of the very core challenges that we did face, because with a lot of our implementational partners and also many existing traditional and conventional organizations in these areas that have taken years to build their credibility with their systems in such areas. So I think resistance and that initial hesitancy that comes from both. Firstly, the implementation and the conventional organizations that were supporting us, which under certain stringent and strict policies and regulations could not very openly accept the initiative that we were doing. And then secondly, also from the beneficiaries who at certain point were very systemized to the traditional way of receiving aid and not actually getting their hands on QR codes or OTP, where it was their involvement into getting aid as well. So I think initial hesitancy and resistance to change comes from both the sides in our process as well. And how that was helped, how that was sorted out, I think, was firstly with our organizations, of how we made them familiarized with the method, of how it was very effective. And it was maybe 10 times or maybe 100 times better than the traditional systems in terms of its efficiency, simplicity, ease that it was bringing. So it was also a very new learning experience for them. And then for the beneficiaries, of how later they felt that when they had to like maybe wait for the aid to be received through process of manually documenting when we were registering them, and now with the simple QR code scanning, they're getting it very quick. So I think that awareness, that digital literacy that we did disseminate to the people there, to the beneficiaries and to the organizations, that's how this resistance to change, this idea was helped there. And then also with the network issues and technological infrastructure, I think that is an idea which is still very much prevalent in the rural areas. We do not have access to technological infrastructure or connectivity issues. So with that, I think it was a very good resource integration from both the parties, Rahat and Taiba, to take the resources along with them, with the implementation partners to the ground, executing the project, to actually see the feasibility of the project in such an area, of how, and then also getting insights on how later we can scale it for better use. So I think getting into this, tapping this idea was a great initiative. There were challenges that had to come, but how we as a team together, with both giving knowledge dissemination, familiarity, awareness, and then also with problem solving analytically together, getting with the logistical issues as well. So I think that was a very learning experience for both the parties involved.
Definitely, Zoha, and I think the one of the other point I felt during the project, the pilot project, was the importance of the partnerships and the support that we receive from on the ground. So the partners that we had on the ground, both Tayaba and the SIO, so Sorso was the implementing partner for this project, who was working on the ground. So both of them, all of the people that were on the ground were like the efforts of all of the people were very much like was phenomenal, and we were like we like I personally appreciate that effort that was seen in this particular pilot, and I feel that that's very important to actually success in anything that we do, especially in a project as such, where you are trying to like bring about a few changes in the existing processes. So, and for Rahat as well, because this was the first time that we were actually venturing out outside of Nepal, one of the challenges that we felt was the language barrier that we had, because the people on the ground, the mobilizers on the ground, they spoke Sindhi, and at first that we felt that that's a major challenge, but then because of a good local partner, I feel that we conducted one virtual training of trainers for them, and they were able to actually disseminate all of these informations and train their mobilizers thereafter, which was quite smooth. And we also had a grievance handling mechanism in place, and with all of these in place, I think it was a very smooth implementation of the project, and that's why I feel that the partnership is also very important. So I think for now, I'll just pause and share the video that I promised earlier. So this video will give you an idea of how we worked on the field, how Zoha and I have been talking about like distributing the QR cards, scanning the QR cards and the OTPs things. So you'll be able to see how this actually worked in the field. So I'll be sharing my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, so I hope with that video, all of us who are present here in the audience would be able to relate to what Zoha has been like trying to say throughout our conversation right now. So Zoha, anything that you'd like to talk about the video?
I think it very well puts into how the entire process is done. And I think even the length of the process in the video speaks a lot about how efficient and how quick and how easy and simple it was. Because it's just, I think, 3 steps mentioned in the video. And trust us, it's only that. It's only that, and you get the aid, it's delivered. And then with also the testimonials that are mentioned there, something that even we could not put it equivalent to how the experience could have been for the beneficiaries, of how they're associating it with being shopping, with it being simple, with it being very easy. So the words that we look at how tech is intended to provide, and then seeing it a practical implementation on the plan, and seeing its positive implication, it's very heartwarming towards the end. The video is very heartwarming, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And the last testimonial, I don't know if you were able to notice, the last testimonial exactly mentioned about how she felt about receiving this H2O will, like if she was like going to the market and buying it for herself. And that's how we are trying to make them feel empowered, making a very dignified process where they feel respected and valued throughout the process. So with this perspective, Rahat actually aims to create a more inclusive and empowering experiences for those who receives aid from all of these organizations during um, as response programs. So with that, I'll be continuing with our conversation that we had earlier. So Zoha, I went through Toyaba's endeavors on blockchain technology, what it's been doing, what it's been doing, like to leverage blockchain technology on him in humanitarian sector. And I came across this NFT fundraising project that Toyaba has been doing. So can you please share about that project too? Because we are talking about blockchain technology, and I feel that our audience deserves that.
Sure, definitely. So to mention, Taiba is one of the world's it's the only world's first NFT fundraising NGO that initiated, that pioneered this idea. And there's a whole story that goes behind this as well. So when the climatic emergency, the monsoon floods of 22, they hit Pakistan, we were looking at how traditional efforts were invested into getting aid, raising funds, and then providing and distributing that aid. Now, with these traditional systems, there came similar benefits, similar disadvantages, and similar drawbacks of lack of transparency and accountability issues, and then also resource allocation. When the aid was not reaching the areas in time, there was unaccounted usage of aid. So with these ideas, also a lot of time these ideas are not due to the abuse and bad actors in the systems, but a lot of time due to certain inefficiencies that are embedded in the system. So I think with blockchain and NFTs and crypto and all of these digital currency fundraising, our idea has always been to bring efficiency, to bring strategic resource allocation that is beyond these mistakes and these drawbacks that have already been identified, that have already been seen in the traditional fundraising efforts. So with our digital currency fundraising initiative, which was basically setting up a multi-signature wallet with our partners that included people from the Ukraine that helped them raise funds, crypto funds, digital currency funds for providing aid there. So we had different credible partners for the multi-signature wallet that was put live on our website. Then we received digital currency fundraising, which was then converted to local currency through different peer-to-peer trading platforms. And then one of the benefits of this was that while Pakistan suffers through a lot of economic turmoil where the currency tends to lose its value day by day, devaluation, inflation, all of these issues, the digital currency tends to retain its value. In fact, it actually multiplied because we participated in the Gitcoin grant during this part, the Gitcoin, which actually assigned a multiplier effect to the value of the digital currency, and it quadrupled the funds that we received. So we were able to create a bigger impact with the funds that we had received by actually multiplying it into numbers. And with that, we provided essential aid ranging from food, from different hygiene and sanitation kits, from temporary shelters, from portable toilets. So we had a range of different relief products that were addressing to different needs of different communities. And then further, when we were done with our digital currency fundraising and donations for that particular aspect, we also simultaneously launched our NFTs. That was for the first time that we related NFTs to real world relief items, where you could mint those NFTs and actually donate a real world relief item in terms of be the ration bag, be it the portable toilet, to help the humanity that was in need at that point. So that was our initiative, which is still an ongoing, which helps to respond to different real world emergencies, climatic emergencies. So this was where we set the foundation of actually tapping into the world of digital fundraising, digital currency aided fundraising, and also NFT powered fundraising. So different avenues that you can do in line with the traditional efforts as well, to actually make it more efficient and to learn and to finally not repeat the mistakes that have been highlighted by the traditional fundraising efforts.
So excited to see how Toyaba has been like leveraging blockchain technology in in many ways, in particularly in humanitarian sector, to cater to like multiple challenges that people in Pakistan are actually facing. So that's very appreciative, Zoha. And as we are saying that leveraging technology in any sector is very crucial. In your experience, because you've been working as a blockchain researcher at Toyaba, and I feel you have a lot of experiences there. And do you think, like with your experiences, do you think the humanitarian sector has been able to like fully harness the potential of this particular technology? And as a blockchain researcher and implementer, so what is one advice that you have for individuals or organizations that are in this in the humanitarian sector regarding the adoption and utilization of blockchain technology?
Yeah, so while I do think this is a very growing idea in the humanitarian sector, there hasn't been much adoption, and that mainly also stems from the fact that there hasn't been much accessibility, particularly in Pakistan. If I talk about accessibilities to such technological infrastructure that isn't even supported from the very foundation, the state, it's not supported by the government as well. There's certain regulatory issues that do not provide access to certain technological infrastructure, so that does sort of limit the way that we can harness the potential of this technology. But when it comes to actually fully harnessing what even the pilot that we executed was just limited to aid distribution, but then there are very prime examples, for example, the World Food Program or maybe Oxfam, of how they started from their production entirely system, having their entire systems integrated with blockchain. So that brings them greater efficiency, that brings them greater automation in their processes when they're utilizing their now potential, their now energies into other more impactful initiatives of how they can bring a greater change. Then with another advice, I think would be to different grassroots organizations that should and are like our implementational partners, different organizations, conventional and traditional, of how they should look at these initiatives as inspirational frameworks, because these are the organizations that have built credibility over years. They're now in contact with over millions of communities and individuals that they're targeting. So if they tend to adopt such platforms, they're even amplifying the impact that we're creating through our organization. So collaboration, not being resistant to change, adapting to change, understanding of how these frameworks are already in practice and the beautiful and the amazing impact help that they're creating to people, understanding that, embedding that idea, adopting that idea, that's very important. Despite, regard, I do understand of how a lot of issues stem from the government and stringent policies as well, but I think this is the time where the humanitarian sector and different grassroots organizations come together to adapt to technology, to understand it, to embed it into their systems, so that they can also reap the benefits of the system in itself for themselves in terms of the cost savings, in terms of transparency, in terms of accountability, and also to amplify the impact that we want to create for the marginalized communities as well. So that would be my small piece of advice to them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think resistance to change, I think, would be the first thing the individuals and the organizations should cater to, because if they are not trying out new things and like doing it the traditional way, then maybe they would the resources, be it like the time or the the financial resources, would be actually um, can be actually used efficiently to for these kind of aid distribution projects, and the additional thing can be used for some other innovations or some other things, as you mentioned. And uh, because I also feel that there is this kind of resistance because they don't know, maybe because they don't know what the technology is, or maybe because of the because and that's why maybe the fear of like uh, I don't know, maybe because of the fear of the things that might come through because of using the technology, maybe because of the lack of awareness, I think is the major challenge, that people are not like trying to get or adapt to this particular technology is the I think is the major thing. And if they get to like know what blockchain is, and if they are making themselves aware of what the technology can do, maybe they would be more like open towards adapting it. And as we mentioned, or as we discussed earlier, about the challenges that we definitely have while implementing this kind of new technology or implementing any kind of change in our existing system, there are going to be some certain challenges, but then we definitely would have to like get over the challenge, accept the challenges, and then address them accordingly. As I think what in one of our pilot projects here in Nepal, we did had a lot of challenges in the while validating and targeting our beneficiaries. And that's why we thought of maybe we should build a tool where we can help these agencies to actually validate and target the beneficiaries. And that's how we are routing our tech development too. And that's how I think all of us should be doing to actually for greater good, I feel. So with that, I think we have almost come to an end. But then a last question for you, Zoha. So this can be as general as it can be. So what could be the opportunities and challenges of adopting blockchain technology, be it in humanitarian sector or like be it any sector?
Right. So, speaking about Pakistan, maybe, so considering that we are a population mainly of youth, we have like 64% of our population is youth, and then we also lie on the third on the crypto adoption index. It sort of reflects how our youth and our population is very much inclined towards adoption of new technology. And with, I think, certain pilots and with certain projects, the penetration is also reflective. But what's missing maybe here is the accessibility of giving certain technological infrastructures and frameworks and certain initiatives where you can actually tap and channelize this for positive and social impact. Even more than humanitarian sector, when it comes to youth, when it comes to us as individuals, bringing blockchain or bringing digital currency, it brings you a lot of avenues for different investments that you can do for actually uplifting oneself. But then when it comes to challenges, I think one of the challenges would stem from having the government that currently puts a lot of restrictions, puts a lot of different policies in terms of the adoption. So firstly, bringing blockchain, bringing certain new technological frameworks into the policy making and making such resources available to the population would be the first thing, so that even organizations can scale it to provide benefits to the communities that we are targeting. So when it comes to Pakistan, if I consider the urban and semi-urban areas, even there, the penetration and giving access to technology is somewhat limited due to these policies, due to these regulations. So if you're providing that access here, then to the marginalized communities that are even more limited with almost equal to none. Through our pilots, we noticed that people did not even have access to mobile phones there. So we're talking about such technological frameworks. So I think bringing this technology, bringing this policy making initiative for the communities and organizations like us, supporting us so that we can further scale it and penetrate it into the marginalized areas would be a great opportunity in terms of tackling this challenge. And then also moving towards digital literacy, of how we saw that very small awareness sessions during our initiative helped people understand what we were doing through the QR cards and blockchain. So maybe maximizing that, bringing it as a core knowledge dissemination factor to people, that you need to understand what digital currency is. You need to understand how we're actually trying to bring financial inclusivity. We're trying to bank the unbanked population. How our initiatives are very multifaceted. They're not just providing aid, they're creating a lot of different things. They're bringing socio-economic benefits, they're bringing psychological benefits, they're bringing empowerment. They're also scaling our businesses and NGOs, they're helping us as systems. So bringing those ideas, those are numerous opportunities that can be tackled when we are first very much on hands with the challenges that we have faced. We've addressed those so that we can further channelize them into positive and social impacts and better goods.
Thank you, Zoha. Definitely, there are a lot of opportunities and use cases of blockchain technology that we can definitely look into it to address different challenges that we have in our world. So thank you, Zoha, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences of using blockchain technology within Tayaba and how it can impart a positive impact in, or how it's already impacting the humanitarian sector. So I hope Tayaba will also continue doing it and have like imparting more positive impact in this sector as well. So with this, I would like to hand over to Amina. Thank you for your patience and listening to the discussion.
Yeah, thank you to both of you for sharing your insights on the project too. And I sincerely hope that everyone here today got the chance to learn more about today's topic and found it to be extremely helpful as well. And I hope a lot of you might have questions already, and I can see few of the questions too. So moving on to the questions, the first question is, how do you see Rahat's ability to collect data and target effectively? So anyone can answer?
So maybe I'll take that question. Because right now, as I mentioned earlier just now, Rahat do not have this beneficiary targeting and validating tool right now. But then, as I mentioned earlier, because of the challenge that we face in one of our pilots here in Nepal, we are already in the way of like developing that tool. And with that, we'll be able to collect our beneficiary data, and we will be like we'll be able to like provide this particular feature where the donor agencies or the people working on the ground can actually collect this data more easily, and with all of the like having all of this vulnerability scoring in place. So we are in the verge of like developing that tool, but then right now we have actually identified the problem, and then we are trying to address it. Hopefully within a few months we'll be there with this particular tool.
Thank you. And here's another question. If the beneficiaries are already part of social updated protection system and linked with financial institutions, don't you think bringing them again and inputting into Rahat is additional work, even though this will contribute to transparency? So you can answer that.
So I think with Rahat, we aren't actually trying to compete or anything as such with other ways of distributing the aid, but then we're trying to complement with what's already there in the market. For example, with the banking sectors or some maybe mobile wallets, we're trying to integrate or maybe trying to bring all of these in one place and build an ecosystem together and not actually competing with each other. So that's what we are trying to do.
Okay, I think they got the answer. So moving on to next questions. The next question is, if the Rahat payment is done through OTP and QR hard copy, and then if goes to bank to collect the payment, how is this different than the current processes of using some signed paper tokens or e-wallet top up?
So maybe I'll take this too. Or Zuha, do you want to say anything?
Even for the previous question that we were talking about, where it's not essentially competing with the financial institutions, and also when we're talking about different beneficiaries in social sectors, and also when it comes to Rahat dealing with real world emergencies, those beneficiaries in those target areas are actually the ones that form the core of the unbanked population. And even if they are with the traditional banking system or other financial institutions, or here when we talk about having different methods or going back to the bank. So I think with this, when we talk about blockchain and collecting payments, so how these blockchain integration platforms work is that this is within the system that happens. And then, well, as mentioned that Rahat mentioned that they're currently working on their frameworks that are with their dashboard. So when you talk about a completely decentralized blockchain dashboard, that's not how it works, that you go to the bank to collect the payment. It is with certain people who are there to provide you aid, that is through tokens, and you redeem tokens. So when people would come to you, they would give you the token or the QR code, you just scan and they receive aid. So that automatic transaction is already done. Now, with the digital wallet, that is with that person who is handling that on the representative desk, how this happens is that they are linked to one of the local currency platform, which may be through a P2P trading platform or another institution that is providing the local currency. And it is only their channel where they get compensated for their currency that they're doing. And then that person also has the right to retain that digital currency and not convert it to the local currency. So it's not about the beneficiaries or the entire system using the QR and OTP going to the bank and receiving. It's very different from different signed paper tokens where you have to go to the bank. You are doing your transaction on spot with the blockchain dashboard there and then. Where it comes to the translation of your digital currency into different local currencies, that is only with the person who is there on the desk. So it does not extend to different platforms that you really have to go to the traditional banks to redeem your tokens. That does not happen within a completely decentralized blockchain dashboard.
And to add towards those who have mentioned, I think it's also about like having a real-time monitoring of what's going there in the transaction while we are transacting with the beneficiaries and with the vendors. So the donor agencies or the organization who actually run these programs can actually look at all of these transactions real time. Sorry. And they can actually it also makes them easier to actually monitor and reconcile if there are any issues in later. So it's not only about the process, but then it's also about like making it more transparent and making all of these stakeholders that are involved accountable to, of what they do during the programs.
Thank you for the answer. So I guess the questions have been, all the questions have been answered, and we're also at the end of our meetup. And because of the limited time, we are extremely sorry that we could not take it further. And I hope you all enjoyed this meetup and got the chance to learn how blockchain played a key role in the project we discussed here today. And also, we're fine. Since we are at the end of the event, our team would like to thank both of our speakers for spending time with us and sharing your wisdom. And once again, thank you, and thanks to both of you for your valuable time in our meetup. And we are also equally thankful to all our attendees for being here uh, in this event today. And I really hope to see you all again in our next meetup with a new exciting theme. And for that, please stay connected with us to our social media platform, which we have mentioned in the chat box too. And for attending our next event, please do like and follow our eSatya space, Insta, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Meanwhile, you can also suggest us about the topics on which you would like to hear from us next. And with this, I would like to wrap up today's meetup. And once again, thank you to both of our speakers.
Thank you, Amina.
Thank